All right, Boker Tov. What you just said. Today's daf is Tetva 15. We pick up in the middle. We're still maintaining a bit of a lead. And we pick up where it says Ravina Amar. La'olam. Line starting with the word La'olam. It is about 15 lines from the bottom. So let me remind you what's going on here. The Mishnah dealt with having the Mishnah at the end of the last parak spoke about somebody who said, my mouth is forbidden, like konam pi medaber imcha, which was talked about speech, but focused it on the physical body part of the mouth, and that worked because that was a neder regarding a davar sheyesh bo mamash, in the sense of the body part. This Mishnah just speaks about a konam that I won't, regarding my konam, my sleeping is konam, my speech is konam, which seems to be a davar she'ein bo mamash. So that's number one in terms of the Mishnah. The Gemara, however, started us off with a different issue, a debate, and this is going to be a debate that's going to take us mostly till the end of today, between Rav Yehuda Amar Rav on the one hand and Rav Nachman on the other. Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, and the question was, if somebody basically says, a neder, this thing is forbidden to me today, on the condition that I do or don't do something tomorrow, do we let the person, quote unquote, potentially violate the neder today, trusting that that person will be able to ensure that the t'nai is not, violated tomorrow? Or do we feel that once tomorrow it's all about the t'nai, the person won't treat that with the same type of weight they would in terms of violating the neder? Even though I'm going to call it violating the t'nai out of simplicity. I mean, you could say fulfilling the t'nai, but I think my point is triggering the conditions under which the neder will take effect. Okay, so therefore we could say that, well, if you trigger those conditions, if you violate the t'nai, retroactively you violated the neder, which is true, but it's all retroactive, it's in the past, and maybe you won't take it so seriously. So that's the debate. Rav Yehuda Amar Rav says that we don't allow you to do it to violate today because you will not take it seriously tomorrow. You won't take the t'nai as serious as you would the vow. And Rav Nachman says you will take the t'nai as serious as you would the vow. So that's the debate. And we try to sort of say that our mission about sleeping was that special case of, what I'm going to do today based on dependent on what I do tomorrow, which is we're really forcing the read of the Mishnah. But the Gemara does that sometimes. It takes a Mishnah which says maybe it's pretty obvious, and let's try to say it's talking about our case. Anyway, one of the reasons the Gemara said that the Mishnah was obvious was it was sort of like a mimon of shach. If the Mishnah is that I am making my sleep as an abstract idea forbidden, then it wouldn't work. And if I'm making my eyes forbidden to sleep, then we already taught that in the previous Mishnah. So therefore it says, so since it can't be one or the other, it's got to be our particular case of a t'nai. That's where we left off. And then the Gemara has now a different answer, which is very important, before we get back to this debate of Rav Yehuda and Rav Nachman. And the Gemara says like this, Ravina Amar, Ravina says, La'olam, so again, the line starts with the word La'olam, it's about 15 lines from the bottom. La'olam kiriktani. Our Mishnah says like it sounds like, that you actually made the neder konam, the sleep itself. So how could it say there's bal yachel? It's a davar she'ein bo mamash. Umay bal yachel? What does it mean that there's bal yachel? Nedarim, rabbinically, here, very important point, which we said in passing before, that even though neder only takes effect on something physical, it can take also effect on something abstract, rabbinically. So my sleep is konam, my walking is konam. So therefore, the big difference between action and person and object a little bit falls away. Conceptually not, because there's still a difference between saying a shvu, I won't walk, and saying my walking is konam, right? One is still the concept, the abstract idea of walking, whereas the other is about me, the person. But nevertheless, a lot of the practical differences will fall. It does collapse some of those differences. All right. So therefore, we're saying that yes, our Mishnah is not a special case of t'nai, and the chiddush of our Mishnah is even though you make the neder just in terms of the walking and not your legs, it still takes effect rabbinically. Umay bal yachem midrabanan. So Gemara says, "Umika bal yachal midrabanan." Would there ever be something, shall not let his vow be violated on a rabbinic? Now, does that mean that the Gemara thinks that there are no Nedarim midrabanan? No, I mean there's plenty of evidence that the Gemara is okay with saying that there are. We'll make a drabanan things on a neder. Thank you so much. The issue is presumably whether we would use the phrase of bal yachel, which is a pasuk in the Torah. Like, would somebody say that if you ate chicken with meat, you're over chicken with milk, you're over on lo sivasha gedi b'chalev imo? No, you'd say it's asmi durabanan. So are you going to use a pasuk of bal yachel on something that's only a durabanan? That's the Gemara's question. Okay, if this idea of the abstract action is a object, is like at least on a durabanan level, would we say bal yachel? So the Gemara says, yes, v'atani we turn to brisa. If something is permissible and other people are treating it, have a practice of treating it as forbidden, that there's a minhag not to do certain things or eat certain things, then you cannot tell them, this is just a crazy minhag. Really, what you guys are doing is really totally okay. It's permissible. Lo yachel divaro, because it says your word should not be violated. Okay, so meaning that they are bound by their practice, and nobody thinks that this is a real neder. Now, this is really important, right? Because, again, we keep on going back to sort of like the whole idea of a hataras nedarim. We have a whole masechet here that's about a neder in terms of making objects forbidden, but the neder that we know, right, when somebody says like bli neder, right, we talk about the tzevdei, really sort of mean like bli shavua. The neder we know most of all often is when we're talking about like committing to do a certain thing. So as we said, that's like this concept of nidrei mitzvah, Omer, Ashkin Vashana Perek Zo, if you remember. And even there, some Rishonim said it really meant Shavua, not Neder. Okay, but that was this idea, like we've been saying, the biblical idea of Neder, by Yido Yaakov Neder Lemor, is obligate yourself to do something, and then it translates into giving something. So it both has that personal obligation and that object. But, often for us, the concept of neder we focus on is that sense of a personal religious type of an obligation that we accept upon ourselves, right? And one of the classic examples we do, like what we say in the Hataras Nedarim, is, kol davar tov that somehow by doing some type of a mitzvah action, again, not technical mitzvah obligation, because then it wouldn't be a neder related, but some type of a positive religious action practice 3 times in a row becomes like a Kabbalah's neder to do this on an ongoing basis. It's actually quite interesting that the Chassam Sofer, who spent a lot of effort combating Reform Judaism and combating the idea of like introducing any changes into practice. So one of the big ways that you can combat any change in practice, even if it's halachically justified, is basically saying, well, it's us because, it's not our minhag to do this. The minhag is that we don't do this type of thing. Of course, the problem with that is like, okay, like minhagim change, but that doesn't sound to be like such an overwhelmingly strong argument if something is halachically permissible. But the ability to use minhag is a very powerful tool from a small c conservative, from a conservatism approach, because just as things have to be kept the way they've been, that these are our practices. So what the Chassam Sofer did to bolster the whole argument of minhag was he basically said that because every minhag is basically a neder to act this way. So every minhag becomes like a deoraisa. There's even one tshuva where he basically, I think he's talking about some question about using, milk of non-Jews or whatever, and is it milk or no? It might be a bishul akum case. Anyway, he says, so there's this question whether with the fact that we don't do this particular thing, if it falls into the Rabbanan category or not. He says, but even if it doesn't fall, it says, so either it falls into the Rabbanan category and it's just a Rabbanan, or it doesn't fall into the Rabbanan category, and therefore it's just because of a minhag, and that would make it a deoraisa because of neder. So you have the ability, the idea of using this idea of a neder, anytime you do a particular practice, anyway, fine. But that is what? Well, okay, that's an interesting question. Anyway, I point all of that because that becomes such this big, category of thinking about Nedarim in terms of personal religious practices that we've adopted, and minhagim and so on, and it's almost completely absent, right, from our Masechet. It completely focuses on the power of neder in terms of relating to objects, okay? But a little hints here and there, and a statement here and a statement there, it winds up getting to become a very powerful idea. So that's what the Gemara is introducing here, that there's an idea of Bal Yachel. If people have a religious practice, even though halachically it's permissible, you don't go ahead and say, you don't have to do that. No, Bal Yachel Dvaro. Now, what does it mean Bal Yachel Dvaro? Does that mean if somebody, again, were to be violating a particular religious practice, going against it, they would be over on Bal Yachel, at least the Durabanan Bal Yachel, the one says Durabanan, right? Or is basically maybe making more of a rhetorical point. Not that person would violate a Bal Yachel, but you don't go ahead and violate, somebody else's thing that somebody else, an important religious practice another person is doing. So it's, you, the other person, don't be Yachel, the varo of that person's actions. And that would be a little bit more of a rhetorical point, right? As opposed to you shouldn't go against a practice you've adopted. What?
No, this is the underpinning for all chumras, for all minhagim.
Right, exactly.
Why would you have someone not violate someone else's?
No, the point is you don't go, it's not your place to go ahead and tell somebody you don't have to worry about a particular religious practice. Right. Right. That's what I mean it as a rhetorical point. Don't you think, I'm going to set them all straight. That's their practice. You don't go ahead violating things that they've adopted. That, I think, might be the pshat here, more of a rhetorical point. But the Gemara is using it more as a technical halachic point, that there's a Bal Yachel Midrabanan. And then that presumably would mean that they're not allowed to sort of violate their own minhag. And that gets this idea that if you adopt a particular minhag, the relationship of minhag and neder and so on. One more point, and then I'll take the question, which is, it seems that the Gemara's argument is by analogy. The same way if you have a certain religious minhag, it becomes a type of a Durabanan Bal Yachel. So similarly, we made an idea that if you say neder, sleeping a lie, that's not the same as a religious minhag. That's neder, my sleeping on me, kona, my sleeping on me. But we also made another rabbinic category of neder, that it could take effect on these abstract ideas and not necessarily on concrete objects. That's the simple read. That's an argument by analogy. Interestingly, Tosfos says that if you look at Tosfos says like this. He says, 3 lines from the bottom, V'chem nagbo iser, tema, ma inyan zelu nagbo iser. Yesh lomar, the high number shenadr, when he's covering lesser atzmo, gun davar shem bo mamash, if you're trying to forbid yourself, let's say, on something like sleeping, right? Ein lecha nagu gadol miseh. That doesn't mean the Messiah. It means Morisha Yichya. Okay. So anyway, what he's saying is it's not by analogy. It's the same thing. If I say konam sleeping a lie, then that's nahagu bo'isser, because I'm trying to make it a davar asur, which is funny. It's not the pshat, right? The pshat is that's not nahagu bo'isser. Nahagu bo'isser means you have a pattern of a certain type of a religious practice. So he tries to make them the same, but more simply, it's an argument by analogy. The last point I'll make, and then I'll take Michael's question, is that there's also different types of minhagim. Like there are minhagim which are active things, like a minhag, I don't know, to shlug kaparas on Erev Yom Kippur. Okay, would you call that also a type of a Bal Yachel and a neder? Right? When we say nahakti davar tosha nahakti shalosh pamim, that's I don't know, I would spend every Shabbos afternoon going and doing bikur cholim at the hospital. Right? That would be a davar tov. That's not exactly. That's even more different from our neder types of discussions. The language of this breita is Devarim hamutarim v'chem nagu bohen isur. So now it actually is much more similar. If you read that narrowly, we treat something as a davar asur. So, for example, let's say somebody says, milk, I don't know,
and chicken and milk.
Right. But that's Durabanan. That's Durabanan. Okay, but let's say, I don't know, let's say, for example, somebody says, I'm not going to eat bacon bits, kosher bacon bits. I'm not going to eat I don't eat on Pesach. I don't like all of this chametz taste, feeling stuff. I'm not going to eat any of this, potato starch sponge cakes on Pesach. Okay, so that's Nagubo Isser. We're talking specifically about an Isser. Therefore, you can see that becomes like it's much more similar to the world of Nedarim, because then it relates to maybe objects, right? Or even if it relates to actions, I don't know. I'm not going to go on any, the Gemara in Pesachim talks about minhagim, about people that would not go on any trips on Friday because they didn't want to get, be late on Shabbos. Okay, so what you're knowing Isser in going in the trip. So that becomes like our idea of this abstract thing. Going on trips on Friday, if you think of that as not a concrete thing, but an abstract thing, that thing that going on the trips, that is a davar usher to me. So then actually it is important to know that when we talk about Nahugabo Isur, whether we're talking about objects or actions, then it is much more similar to the world of Nedarim and much more similar to the idea of Davar She'ein Bo Mamash. Now, Michael,
so my question was this. I mean, just read in the actual, where this came from, how we're interpreting it over here. When we say does it mean that I can't say all right, you don't need to do this, or we even say extend it so far as I can't even know minhag heter?
No, that's a different question. That we're not talking about. I mean, that might be true, but that's not the conversation.
Okay, what it really means is you can't tell them it's okay.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Is there a difference between chumrah or just answering something in the belt?
Yeah, meaning, if you're saying I'm being choshesh for a certain halachic position, that's not exactly the same as no gubba and heter, right? All of this, like I said, becomes that whole big category of adopting practices upon yourselves and becoming Nedarim. And again, you learn Maseches Nedarim and you assume that that's what we're talking about. But no, then you realize we're all talking about making objects forbidden. So again, the degree to which you get something like that, if we're talking about a positive act, that's more like the, Ashkim Vashana Perek Zo discussion, right? And if you're talking about making certain things forbidden, that's what we have Nagub and Isur, which might be more close to the world of Nedarim we've been discussing. But again, the Gemara says it's Midrabanan. Okay, so now the Gemara says like this. Okay, Tanan, we're still not done with our debate of Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Nachman about whether we think you can violate the neder if we trust you and we'll trust you not to violate the Tanai. So let's take a look. We got a Mishnah coming up a little in about a month. So man, thank you. So man makes a neder against his wife and says, you cannot derive any benefit from me from Pesach if you go to visit your father's house until Pesach. What did I say? Until Pesach, if you go to visit your father's house anytime up through Sukkot. Now again, we're assuming that Pesach is going to come first. If the order of the Chagim is Pesach comes first. Okay, so should we do all this? I think it's pretty clear, but never hurts to use the board. Okay, so let's say right, and here's the two tray. Okay, here's Sukkot, there's Pesach. They're standing over here. Okay. Very traditional. Anyway, so he's what? Yeah. Okay. Fine. How come he's bald?
Yeah. Now she's not covering your hair.
All right. Never enough. He says, right? No hana. You can't get any hana from me. Okay, that's the hana part. From till Pesach, if you go to Beit Aviv, that's it. It's not. Right, any of this time. So, okay.
Or later. What's hana mean? Zona at 6.
Whatever. Let's say 6. Okay, we'll get to that. Anyway, all right. So, anyway, here's the point that during the period from now till Pesach, right, if she actually triggered the Tanai, violated the Tanai, she would know that she can't get hana, right? But if she hasn't gone to her father's house and she's in this period, can she be getting hana from him? Will we say it's okay to get hana from your husband and we'll trust you not to go to your father's house or not? That's the question of Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda would say, don't get any hana from your husband here because we won't be able to trust you not to go to your father's house. And Rav Nachman would say, no problem, get hana from your husband, just be careful afterwards. So let's take a look at what the Gemara says.
That was like a Mishnah to us. We said something like that. You got to.
All right, we're not going to worry about that now. Okay, so the Mishnah says like this: if she went to her father's house before Pesach, okay, asur b'hanato ara Pesach. So now she's triggered the Tanai and she can't get hana. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Now let's see what the Gemara infers from this. Only if she's gone before Pesach do we say don't get hana from your husband until Pesach. Lo. If you haven't yet gone to your father's house, you're able to get hana from your husband. We'll just trust you not to trigger the Tanai later. So Amar Rabbi Abba, no, that's not what it means. It means Pesach, if she's already gone to her father's house and it's before Pesach, Asura Veloka. Now the condition, the Tanai has been triggered, and she's definitely forbidden. And now she would get hana. We know she's violating the neder, and there'd be lashes. Lo alcha, if she didn't go to her father's house, and it's this period up to Pesach, so we don't know what's going to be the story with this period, whether the Tanai will be triggered or not. Then Asura ba'alma, she's just simply forbidden. Okay, so when it says if she's gone to her father's house here, don't derive benefit, really she's not allowed to derive benefit either way, because we don't know what's going to happen later. But it's what it's saying is, if you've triggered the Tanai and don't derive, it's clearly now it's in force, don't derive benefit, if so, you'll get lashes. If you haven't yet triggered the Tanai, then Rav Yehuda would say, I still don't want you to derive benefit because I won't trust you to be careful with the Tanai, but it won't be as weighty because you don't yet know that it's going to be in violation, okay? So although the Mishnah says, don't violate after you've triggered the Tanai, Rav Yehuda would say, don't even violate before you've triggered the Tanai. I won't trust you to be careful with the Tanai, but nevertheless, it won't be as severe. We won't know yet that you violated. And even if you did violate retroactively, you won't get lashes because, it'll be like Hasra Safek. Yes.
So I don't remember. Is there such a thing as a shvuah b'tnai?
Yes, but we haven't dealt with it.
And I understand that. So that's just so interesting to me.
Could be a shvuah that I won't get hana if I do this.
All right, but there you have a concern of also taking Shem Shamayim with Batala, no?
Yeah, but we don't, in general, by a shvuah, it's a concern of violating the shvuah, not using God's name. Then you would never be able to take any shvuah. Okay, yes.
Maybe I'm not thinking through this, maybe a little different to, husband and wife, whatever, because, she whatever, just given their relationship in the two. But if you say to me, you can't have enough for me if you go, I don't know, whatever, across the street, for a month, whatever. Right? And then, so I can say, okay, well, don't give me anything. And, in other words, it's your object. Why would I be getting lashes?
All right, so that's an excellent question. I'm going to get back to that in a minute. All right, excellent. Who gets lashes? Okay, hold off on that. That's a really central question. I'm going to finish the Gemara's discussion on this mission, and then we're going to go back to that question. Okay, so the Gemara says like this. Ema Seifa, let's look at the end of this Mishnah. Achar Pesach, Beval Yachal Dvaro. If she went to her father's house after Pesach, she's transgressed Bal Yachel. Okay, so what's the scenario that she's over on Bal Yachel if she went to her father's house after Pesach? Must be she got Hana before Pesach, right? And then she went after Pesach, she triggers the Tanai, and retroactively she's done Bal Yachel. If she never got Hana, Lifnei Pesach, before Pesach, Mika Bal Yachel. So there's no Bal Yachel. El Pita Dishani. It must be she got Hana. Okay, Alma Misani. You see, you're allowed to get Hana. Okay, so basically the Mishnah says if she went afterwards, then retroactively she's over on Bal Yachel. But that implies that it had no problem with her getting Hana during this period. It doesn't say don't get Hana, because if you triggered the Tanai, don't get Hana. And if you went afterwards, retroactively, you're over. So it sounds like it has no problem before she's triggered the Tanai with her getting Hana. It's just telling her, fine, you haven't triggered it, get Hana, but just don't trigger it now. And if so, retroactively, you'll be over on Bal Yachel. So since it says if you trigger it here, you're retroactively over on Bal Yachel, and it never told her not to get Hana, it sounds like it's okay with her getting Hana. It'll trust her not to trigger the Tanai. If she does trigger the Tanai, then retroactively she'll be over. So that's a contradiction to Rav Yehuda. The Tiyufta to Rav Yehuda, that's a contradiction on Rav Yehuda, because it seems like it's fine with her actually getting the Hana. No, so Mar says, no, Kiktani the Ishani, okay, Hareze Beval Yachel Tanan, okay, Hareze Beval Yachel Tvaro. No, it never said she's allowed to get Hana. It said, it's not discussing whether she's allowed or not. Okay, it's saying, if she got Hana here and she triggers it here, retroactively she's over Bal Yachel. In a way, you could actually read the Mishnah to say she's not allowed. The Mishnah could be saying, since if you trigger the Tanai here, retroactively you'll be over on Bal Yachel, then the implicit message is, therefore, don't get hana during this point. So it doesn't discuss whether you're allowed or not allowed. It discusses in practice. If you trigger it here, you'll be over retroactively on Baal Yachel. Whether or not you should or shouldn't get hana during this point is not being addressed, and maybe you shouldn't, and maybe it's telling you, if you did, here's what's going to happen. Okay, but it's not clear whether or not you're allowed. Now, so the issue of Rav Yehuda and Rav Nachman is not resolved. Now, I want to go back to the question that is being asked, which is about who gets lashes. He made the vow, she got hana. Why should she get lashes for some type of a thing that he's deciding to throw around all of these Nedarim and make her life impossible, and now she's the one that all of a sudden is burdened by that and is going to get lashes. So if you take a look, the Ran has a very important discussion about this. Let's turn back to the Amud Aleph and read the Ran. Okay, Halcha, that's about 10 lines before the lines get wide, or 10 lines from the bottom, about 12 lines from the bottom. Asura b'hanasa v'loka. Kolomar, well, we're going to see. Kolomar, well, loka, according to that, loka he, she gets lashes. Avalahu ain't a loka. Sherei lo asar shum yisur. He didn't do anything. Ela she'idira. He made a vow, but she's the one who violated it. Maybe that's part of the point of this Mishnah. The Allah rechiv isur, that on her is the prohibition. Avalo Allah klal, not him. Aval harambam zal kasav lokehu shehidira. He gets lashes. Now, not if he just passively did nothing. In hehene uta, if he basically caused her to get hana'ah, okay. So he went then and gave her a back rub or something. I don't know. Okay, he directly, caused her to get hana'ah. Then he has violated his vow. Okay, so then he is the one that has violated.
She's supposed to be warning him against
it.
Though?
I don't know. Anyway, about he ain't a loka. She doesn't get lashes. The kingdom of lo nadra klal. She didn't make an eder. Lo shaykh lo yachel divaro. She's not violating her words. It says, if you take a vow, then you, buddy, who took a vow, don't violate your vow. This isn't her vow. So even if she goes against it, right, she has not violated. Okay?
Has she done anything wrong at all?
It doesn't sound, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's like a leaf naiva on him. The less, then the Ran says, let's just read, and then you can all have your say what you want to say. The less, that's not true. The father who ain't a loke, he doesn't get lashes. Okay, so he proves it based on a subject we haven't seen. We're going to skip that a little. Anyway, and then I want to just skip to the key line of what he does with the words lo yachel varo. And then he says like this. Alma, the last narrow line, Eina is ha'oser over klal. The one who creates the isser does not violate if the other person is the one who transgressed it. V'hamudar nami vadayabar, and the one who was the passive, the one who the vow was taken against, right, is the one who transgresses. The avagav dichsiv lo yachel divaro, do not violate your word. Lo yachel adibor kamar. The word, talk about an abstract idea, right? The word cannot be violated. It doesn't really matter whose word it is. The word cannot be violated. So if I say, right, konam, coffee zeh al Michael, okay, so now my word has created the neder. That's all kind of neder. My word has created the status of the coffee, and now Michael would now violate the status of that coffee that's been created. So that would be a loya. It's not just me going against what I said I would do, right? To the degree you think neder is like a shavua, to do something. I promise to do something. I have to live up to it. I can't violate and not live up to what I obligated myself to do. This is, conceptually in the Torah, that's really what's going on, right? Because the neder is to do something, as we've been discussing. But once the neder means an object, then you get to this weird question. It's not about me, it's about what I created in the object. So if that word basically, created a status in the object, somebody who would violate it would violate that status. It's like violating that word. Violating my word, but now you've violated it. That's a status that I created. Now I could sanctify. They say, "Oh, it's not fair to you." Well, I don't know. I can sanctify my animal as a korban, and if you misuse it, you violate.
You can't do all coffee. You just do your coffee.
I can do my coffee on you. Right. To me, make something forbidden on somebody else. It has to be my stuff. Has to be forbidden on somebody else. Okay. So anyway, but that's really. But that is so you what the Ran says is totally consistent with the emphasis of the Masechet, which is on neder creating a status in an object. Okay, and it does make sense. Like, if the person who crosses the line that shouldn't be crossed is the one who transgressed, even though they didn't draw that line in the sand, they're the one who crossed that line. Okay, Rambam, interestingly, and again, maybe this connects to a point we made yesterday about, where the Rambam says davar hanadur, it's not enough that it's a status you create about objects, it has to be the types of things that you can actually give as a free will offering to God. So the Rambam actually says that a chatos and an asham are only very barely in the davar hanadur category because you can freely obligate yourself to give them through becoming like a nazir. But the point is that for the Rambam, he doesn't totally shift our focus to the objects. He still reminds us of the classic neder, which is obligating yourself to give something right to God. And therefore, the Rambam basically says that the one who took the vow, who did it, that's the person who's really commanded against violating that vow. Okay, now again, does it mean it's permissible? We're talking here about lashes. Could be that, yes, he's not denying the fact that this object now has an objective reality that I've created, and somebody who violates that reality would violate, but they wouldn't get the lashes. Okay, and if I passively don't violate, I make this forbidden, and Michael goes, I wasn't Bal Yachel Baro, he was being Meichil my dibur. So neither of us gets lashes. He doesn't get lashes because it wasn't his dibur, even though he did the action. And I don't get lashes because I wasn't the one who violated.
So wait, what kind of case is that?
I say this coffee is usher on Michael, and Michael comes and drinks it. Right? So according to the Rambam, I don't get lashes because I didn't violate it. And he doesn't get lashes because it wasn't his word.
So it'd only be lashes if you said you'd be usher on you and you violated it.
Right. Or if I held you down and poured the coffee down your throat, like pehene ota, then I am the one who violated my vow. So for the Rambam to get lashes, you need both. That the status of the object be violated and it be the vow of the person who's violated. That's what you need for lashes. If you have one or the other, we might still be talking about that it's biblically prohibited. Doesn't have to jump to a rabbinic idea, but it's not the classic where you get the lashes. So again, according to the Ran, it's all about the status of the object. Whoever violates the status is over in Ba Yachel Devaro, the possessive of the Devaro, the Vav will bracket. Lo Yachel Hadibur. Okay, and anybody who violates it gets lashes. For the Rambam, you need the one who made the vow to violate the vow in order for him to get lashes. Yes.
Rabbi, in this case, we're not talking about a chayfetz, we're talking about a t'nai and a ma'aser.
No, the chayfetz would be, well, this is also a question about Hana is an abstract entity, so we might be talking about a Durabanan, but it might be talking about his body, my body is usher to you b'hana'ah. Okay, so it's true here. I mean, we're talking about Hana from the person, and it might be a more Durabanan Bal Yachel, because what you're really prohibiting is the hana, not the object, but it could be the object is the man's body, right? You can't. So, but yeah, we haven't gotten back to to that aspect of this. Yeah,
if the man makes this better and then he causes her, like he said, he gives her a back rub or something like that,
right?
Then two things. One, if she visits her father after Pesach,
right,
he's not actually violating his vow. She is.
Well, she triggered the t'nai to cause.
Right.
Then you're right. It gets complicated.
The other thing is also then it's an interesting shift of who's in control.
Right.
She's in
because
control.
she's in control of the t'nai and he's in control.
Right.
That's a good point. I mean, so for the Rambam, you're saying he might not get lashes because in the end he didn't control the violation. Even though he did the violation, she in the end made it into a violation retroactively. Right, that's a good point. So that does make that a special case. Yes, Doug.
I could take a neder, not to, like all coffee will be usher to me.
Right.
Like I don't own that coffee,
Right.
but can I make a neder that all coffee will be usher to you? Or
No.
only-
So you can make your stuff usher to other people, other people's stuff usher to you. You can't make other people's stuff usher to them. Okay?
Right.
Okay, yes.
So what do we, maybe we didn't say that. What happens if it's done with shogeg? Is there any repercussion for that?
Yeah, like any of their shows.
No, we don't mean a korban, for instance.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, so back to the Gemara. So very important. I mean, there's a lot of, it's so funny how radically some of these dapim change. We went from a daf on Shabbos, which is ha korban, kat korban, la korban, or whatever, which is like your head was swimming. And now in today's daf, right, think about all the important things we talked about. We talked about a durabanan of Bal Yachel on not just objects, but on abstract ideas, entities, actions, and so on, that there could be a Bal Yachad D'Rabbanan. We discussed the idea of Bal Yachad by Minhagim, okay, at least by a minhag of Isser, as opposed to a minhag of Heter. A minhag of Isser fits a little bit more into that category. And now we've discussed the question that you would think somewhere in this Masechet the Gemara might discuss, which is who violates Bal Yachel? Okay, who gets the lashes? Is it all about the status of the object, or is it still about the person who took the vow? And do you maybe need both of those according to the Rambam in order to violate, or or certainly to get lashes, or is just the status what the focus is? Yes.
Would you say that analysis and that distinction is similar to the thinking in the first sugi in Shabbos with Hotzah? It takes two people, the action split in half.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go there. That clearly focuses on the action, and the question is whether one person is doing it right. Here, the whole point is, what is the status of the object, and it, independent of the issue of the taking the vow.
Okay.
So it's all right. So now the Gemara says like this: top of Ted Vav Amud Bet. Okay, Tnan. We're still going back to the debate of Rav Nachman and Rav Yehuda about whether we can trust you not to violate the T'nai if you already have violated the vow. Okay, Sha'at nenis li ad hachag. So this is the reverse. Im telchi lebeis avichad hapesach. So here, okay, you can't get hana all the way to Sukkot. That's the Yisur hana and the T'nai is until Pesach. So this is Beit Avich. This is the T'nai, and this is
a little house.
Whatever, thank you. This is I know, Isser Hana'ah, for all those people, the visually oriented people among us. Fine, we'll do a little house.
When does the Tkufa of Ad HaPesach start?
From the moment he takes the vow. Okay? So, don't get Hana'ah until Sukkot if you go to your father's house Ad HaPesach. Okay, so, okay. That's pretty obvious. If she goes before Pesach, she can't get Hana all the way until the Chag. But presumably, if she goes ahead and goes to her father's house, she can go to her father's house after Pesach, which is like bizarre. Of course, you go to her father's house after Pesach, but so the Rishonim try to figure out what the Chiddush is. Maybe the Chiddush is just that we're not afraid that if we let her go to her father's house after Pesach, somehow it'll lead to, I don't know how retroactive here, but other cases or whatever going before Pesach. All right, that's a pretty obvious throwaway line. All right, that's it. Okay, anyway, halcha asura, lo halcha lo. So basically says, if she goes, that's when we say don't get hana. But if she doesn't go, we will trust her to get hana and trust her to keep her T'nai. Okay, that's what it sounds like again. So we can trust her to keep her T'nai. So the Gemara says, lo hachalo. So it's going to give the same answer. Amar Rava, no, hu adida filu lo halchasura. Even if she hasn't gone to her father's house, we don't get hana until at least Pesach. Hu adida filu lo halchasura. Halcha, if she's already triggered the T'nai, asura veloke, then if she were to get hana now, either she would get lashes or he would get lashes. We'll read it like the Ran. She'll get lashes. Because now she's clearly in the Isser T'nai, because she's in Isser Hana, because she's triggered the T'nai. Lo halcha, if she has yet to go, and it's this period before Pesach, so Asura Ba'alma, don't do it. But you're not going to get lashes. We don't know what's going to happen in terms of the T'nai. Okay? So just because it says once the try is triggered, she can't get Hana, that means that's when the full weight of the prohibition has kicked in. But even before the T'nai has triggered, it's not clear that we would allow her to get Hana. We might not allow her. We might not be able to trust that she will be able to keep to the T'nai. Okay? Again, that's not the Pshat. The Pshat of the Mishnah is against Rav Yehuda. The Pshat of the Mishnah is that as long as the T'nai isn't triggered, she can go get it, go ahead and get Hana, and we'll just trust her not to trigger the T'nai. But the Gemara is reading it that that maybe she's forbidden either way. It's just that she doesn't get lashes, until the T'nai has been triggered. Only if she violates after the T'nai has been triggered. Okay, so the Gemara says like this, Meisvei, another case. Kigar zo alai hayom, im elech l'makom ploni l'machar. This loaf of bread is forbidden to me today if I, go to Philadelphia tomorrow. All right, so, achal, if I ate this loaf of bread, harei ze b'val yelech. then I better not go to Philadelphia tomorrow. Okay? So the Gemara says, it's funny, you gotta love that phrase, Harei ze b'val yelech, like b'val yachel, like now there's a new biblical prohibition, don't go to Philadelphia, which I've just created. Okay, so the Gemara says, Miktani, so you see that, it seems like no problem eating it, just don't go trigger your Tanai. The Gemara says, it didn't say no problem eating it. Miktani ochel, it doesn't say you're allowed to eat it. Achalktani, it means if you ate it, now you better be careful. Okay? Okay, but you shouldn't have eaten it in the first place. But if you've eaten it, now you'd really better be careful. Okay? Now, holach, now it says like this. If I actually did go to Philadelphia tomorrow, retroactively I've transgressed Bal Yachel. Torah. So anyway, so the Gemara, okay, presumably because I actually ate from it today. So the Gemara says, Mahalech lo. So it sounds like I'm not lechatchila allowed to go. Now, of course, lechatchila I'm not allowed to go. Okay, because I ate the darn thing today. No, but it says like this. According to Rav Yehuda, what would Rav Yehuda have told me to do? Rav Yehuda would have told me, don't eat this loaf of bread today, because I won't trust you to go tomorrow. I won't trust you to keep it tonight tomorrow. So according to him, the default case was that I didn't eat the loaf of bread today. So according to him, I should be allowed to go to Philadelphia tomorrow, because if I was listening to him, I didn't eat the loaf of bread today. Okay? So that's the Gemara's question. Mahalech lo, why doesn't it just say, go to Philadelphia tomorrow? Why does it say don't go? If you go, you'll transgress. It assumes you were okay. You were eating the bread today. The kasha of Rav Yehuda. That's a question to Rav Yehuda. I'm not Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda will say to B'du, who adin delisni mehalach. It really could have said, you can go tomorrow, presuming that you're not going to eat today. But I need to tell you, but since we set up the case, the first case that you actually did eat the loaf of bread, I didn't want you to eat it, but you went ahead and ate it, right? And therefore, the low that you're the low misnile ochel, because it wasn't able to say you're allowed to eat, because I say, said Rabbi Yehuda, you're not allowed to eat. So therefore, we started the case by talking not about whether you are or aren't allowed to eat. We started the case talking about the default, assuming you weren't listening to us anyway, and you just went ahead and ate the loaf of bread. Once that's the case, that you went ahead and ate the loaf of bread, then we're going to say, where were we? Tani Seifa halach. Therefore, we're going to say that if you went ahead and went, what will retroactively it have done to your action? But you can't infer that you were allowed or not allowed to eat at the outset. We're not talking about whether you were or weren't allowed to eat. We were talking that you had already eaten the loaf of bread, what the consequence would be. So the Gemara is not clear what the maskana is, whether we will allow you to violate your Tanai and trust you not, violate your neder and trust you not to violate your Tanai. At least a lot of the Rishonim assume, since the Gemara, it's always that funny thing. The Gemara is working so hard to try to challenge a particular position, Rav Yehuda's position, doesn't mean we don't go like Rav Yehuda, because all the prima facie evidence is against him. Or do we say, since the Gemara is working so hard to make him work, therefore it's trying to say that we do go like him? Anyway, the Ran is inclined to go like Rav Yehuda and would say that if you made a Tanai that we don't yet know whether or not it'll be fulfilled, we're going to tell you right now, don't transgress the neder out of a concern that you will trigger the Tanai later on.
This neder with the loaf of bread that was eaten, the neder was made after you ate the loaf of bread.
No, before. I won't eat neder. This loaf of bread is offered to me if I go to Philadelphia tomorrow. So can I go ahead and eat this loaf of bread and trust myself not to go to Philadelphia? Right. Okay.
So what would the Ran hold if the Easter loaf of bread?
Don't go to Philadelphia. Everybody would hold in that case. You better not go to Philadelphia. No, you don't get, no. Retroactively, you don't. That would be retroactive. There's no way you get lashes because we're only going to figure it out retroactively. Okay, that's what the whole point of this mission was. Bal Yachel as opposed to Loka. Okay, Loka is you've already triggered the Tanai. We know you're violating, you get lashes. Bal Yachel is when you did it, you might violate it based on the Tanai. We find out later that you violated it retroactively. We know you violated it. That's Bal Yachel without lashes. The question is, do we let you now get Hana and trust you to keep to the Tanai tomorrow?
What's the punishment?
What?
What's the punishment? He eats it today and goes to Philadelphia tomorrow.
Then it's between him and God. Right. I mean, look, you have to step back and appreciate this phenomenon, which is, in addition to the fact that it gives us interesting, Talmud Torah, ideas to play with. This is a way in which you use a neder, which is about an object, to address actions, right? So rather than taking a shrew, I don't want to take a shrew because it's a shrew shav, shrew sheker, lo yinakeh Hashem et asher yisar shemo lashav. There's even greater hesitation with shrews than there is with nedarim. So what I'll do is, so how do I get myself to do or not do something? What I'll do is I'll say, like, all fruit in the world should be forbidden to me if I do X, or if I don't do X. And because I don't want to suffer the consequences of the neder, I'm going to force me to do or to not do something. That's how you get the neder to translate into action, right? Because I don't want to have to deal with those consequences. So let's say I'm really trying to make sure that I make that trip to Philadelphia. Okay, but that trip isn't coming up for a week, right? So I guess if I wanted to make things simpler, I would say, if I don't make that trip to Philadelphia, then at that point, co-payers should be usher to me, okay? But I complicated things a little bit, and I didn't say that. And I said, co-payers usher to me if I don't make to take that trip that I've been meaning to take. So now we're in this weird twilight zone right now, right? Because we don't know whether or not it'll look the kid. But again, the phenomenon is a very natural phenomenon. It's using Nedarim to push yourself to do or to not do certain actions. Yeah.
You never push someone else to do or not do certain actions.
That could also be, right.
It's like the marital test, how much do you love me? You're going to do this, you're not going to. It's giving her the prerogative to act or not act.
Right. That's a good point, too. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
If you can't answer a chayfetz on somebody else unless it's yours,
right,
then how can you answer an action on somebody else?
You're not. Where are you answering an
yours.
action? What do you mean?
In the case with the going
to your father's house. No. Again, that's how you do it, through an object. I'm not forbidding you to go to your father's house. Be my guest. Go to your father's house. The consequence will be that if you do, then I'm forbidding on you any hana you'll get from me. So what I'm forbidding on you is my thing, my hana, whether it's my body, right? Whether it's my body, whether it's my food, whether it's my car, my house, all of that is forbidden to you. You're free to choose whether or not to go to your father's house, but here are the consequences. Okay, all right. So yes.
Is he allowed to withhold?
Excellent. That is the next Gemara. Ha'omer li'isha, to our Mishnah. Konam sh'ani misham sheikh. If the man said to his wife, Konam, that I won't have sex with you. So again, now we're not talking, it could be my body is forbidden regarding sex, but we're talking here, we just said that the Mishnah is about the Drabanan, so we're talking about the abstraction, not actually the physical body, but the hana of the act of sex that I would, have with you is forbidden on you. So he's forbidding that hana'ah. Okay. So then it's Baval Yachel. So the Gemara says, how's he able to do that? He's biblically indebted to her. As it says, he cannot withhold her food, clothing, and sex, and conjugal relations, and his obligation of marital sex. So now the question is, who cares? Meaning, just because you have an obligation, I can say, all tefillin is usher on me. Konam all tefillin on me. Konam all sukkahs on me. And as we said, it works because it's only indirectly undermining my mitzvah obligation. It makes the object forbidden, and then I come to do the mitzvah and I can't do it because the object is forbidden. So what's the big deal? Yes, he has an obligation to have sex with his wife, but he makes himself forbidden, and then it indirectly undermines. He didn't say I'm not going to have sex. He just made himself forbidden. It's so if you were, the object is forbidden, but he didn't directly confront it. So the key here is not because he has an obligation. That would not be enough. You have a mitzvah obligation and you can make it like that. The key is that he's mishtabed la. She has, as it were, a lien on his body. She has rights to having sex with him. Okay, this is actually an interesting whole legal question, or like church law as well, because it had this whole idea of conjugal rights, but it's in halacha. Is it a chov or a chiyuv? Right? Is it a personal obligation or is it a debt? Is it like the woman has liens and rights and some type of property ownership on the man in this regard, or just he's got a mitzvah to do it? So it's the language is
of Kedusha,
right.
So he's
right.
Okay,
that's good. Right. So mishtabed la means he actually has rights, property rights, as almost, on him, for that demand for sex. And therefore, when he tries to forbid the sexual pleasure on her, he's not forbidding his thing on her. He's forbidding her thing on her. You can't do that to me. I've got rights on this, on your property, right? So if, let's say, we jointly owned a car, and you wanted to say, my car is forbidden to you, I get some interesting questions about shutafut, and we'll get to it. But it's like, who are you to forbid, this thing on me? I've got rights to it, okay? Let's say I rented your car. Can you go ahead and I've got your rental car for the rest of the week, and you could say that car is forbidden to you? What are you talking about? I've got rights to it. I've rented it for the week, okay? So therefore, how is she in a position? That's the issue. The issue is not obligation, but it's ownership. And therefore, since she is considered like an ownership on his body or on his sexual pleasure that she has the rights to for him, he cannot make it forbidden. The language of the Ran is, where's the Ran? I'm looking at it. The language of the Ran is, one minute, I'm just going to skip to the line. He says like this. He says, Hachanami, it's like 4 lines before the lines get wide, the beginning of the line. Lo matzi avi, midoraisa mishabed la, v'have ka'oser nichse chavero al chavera. When he tries to make his sexual pleasure forbidden on her, it's hers. And he's like trying to make his friend's fruit forbidden on the friend. Okay, this is his wife has rights to this. He can't make it forbidden. So back to the Gemara. Okay, so okay, here's how it works. Hanas tashmi sheikh alai. I'm not going to make my sexual pleasure forbidden on you, says the man to the woman. I'm going to make your sexual pleasure forbidden on me. So therefore, I can make your fruit forbidden to me. So I can make your sexual pleasure, the sexual pleasure I would get from you, says the husband to his wife, forbidden on me. So you don't need ownership because you're making forbidden on you, not forbidden on somebody else, right? So I can make your car forbidden to me. I can make your sexual pleasure forbidden on me. Now, indirectly, it prevents him from doing his obligation. But as we said, that's not a problem with Nedarim. By a shavua, you cannot directly obligate yourself against the pre-existing obligation. Okay, but here it's indirect. The sexual pleasure is forbidden on him. That works because you can make anybody's things forbidden on you. Now it comes time for him to do the mitzvah of Ona, and he can't do it because the thing is forbidden. Not the act is forbidden, as it were, the object is forbidden. Okay, so that kicked in. Now, of course, they can't stay married that way. They'll have to get a divorce, but the neder takes effect. Okay, so Ba'omer, Hanas Tashmi Shechalai. So Gemara says, and he doesn't want, but now he's not able to have sex. The Amarav Kahana, and now as we'll see in the reverse, Tashmishi, if she says, Tashmishi Alecha, so my sexual pleasure is forbidden on you, she's not entitled to do that. She has to go ahead and have sex with him. Okay, because same idea. The same way she has rights on his body to have sex, and if the husband can't make his sex his sexual pleasure forbidden to her, she has rights to that. Right. The same is reverse. He has rights on to have sex, to have sexual pleasure with his wife, as it were, on his body, and therefore she also cannot make it forbidden on her husband. It doesn't, not by force, but you basically, anyway.
It doesn't mean potul petak. We had that before.
No. Anyway, no, it doesn't mean that. It just didn't take effect at all. The shibudei mishabat lay. Her body, as it were, is meshubah to him. But again, now that, of course, woman as sexual property, right? It's always been woman as sexual property, not man as sexual property. For millennia, that's been the whole issue, right? But nevertheless, what's important to note here is that the Gemara actually started with the reverse, right? It wasn't just that the husband had an obligation; it very much was a property rights in the reverse as well. She had a type of a property rights on his body, and he could not make his hana forbidden. That was her thing, right? Her rights to him was hers, and he could not make it forbidden. And similarly, she cannot make her sex forbidden to him because he has rights to it. Okay. However, if she said Tashmishecha alai, the sexual pleasure I would derive from you, she says to her husband, is forbidden to me. You don't need property rights. You're making it forbidden on yourself. In that case, asur, he's forbidden to have sex. She'ein machilin lo ladam davar ha'asur lo. You don't make somebody do something that they're not allowed to have. They're not allowed to get that benefit. So they would have to somehow get a divorce. Okay, but this is a very important Gemara. Again, here we're getting it in Maseches Nedarim, but it's a critical Gemara in terms of thinking about the sort of parallel, questions about like rights of sex and is it a parallel or non-parallel relationship, right? In terms of the husband's right to have sex with his wife and the wife's right to have sex with her husband. Normally, we focus on the mitzvah, she'raksu tavonata lo yigra, which is his mitzvah to have sex with her. But a mitzvah is different than a right, and we never fully spell out what's his right to have sex with her. We say that did I missay that? Is her right to, or his mitzvah to have sex, and her, maybe like her rights to demand sex with her husband or whatever, regular intervals. We never sort of focus on the reverse, which is his rights to have sex with his wife, and is that a balanced or is that an unbalanced thing? Is it a personal obligation? Is it a debt? So this Gemara is very important that it sort of brackets the significance of his mitzvah and focuses on that sense of an equal and parallel right that one part, that the one spouse has on the other, in terms of sexual relations. Okay, and because of that, one spouse cannot make forbidden on the other their sexual pleasure on the other person, because the other person actually has rights to that. And it really just works out in terms of making somebody else's pleasure forbidden on you. Okay, so very important, again, not even so much for Nedarim, but conceptually thinking about, the sort of sexual, the rights to sex of one partner on the other, that in a society which is sort of very patriarchal and a woman is sexual property of the man, that our sugya actually starts by positing, by putting out there the reverse. The man is also sexual property of the wife, within the marriage. And it uses the exact same language. She has a shibud on him, and he has a shibud on her. So very important in terms of conceptually how we think halacha deals with the issue of marital sex. It comes up through this Gemara here in Nedarim.
Does it work the other way around? If he says his pleasure, if he asks her